Greetings, everyone. Welcome once again to the Oz and Crew Reviews podcast. Take two. um,
Electric Boogaloo.
I'm I'm Ozzy. I'm here with my co-host, as always, Mad Matt.
It sounds like we need to watch the Gremlins movies next.
Yeah, we started recording this a little bit ago, and we got about 4 or 5 minutes in, and I realized that my audio settings were not set up properly, so that if I had not stopped and us restarted, I would have just been talking to a non-existent voice. You wouldn't have heard anything Matt was saying.
It's a nice, long, quiet pause. Enjoy the silence.
It's like I'm talking to a ghost or something.
Ooh.
Um, let's see, where were we? So I had said that apparently
Yeah, apparently there was some negativity towards this movie.
apparently this one was people didn't like this one, at least not as much as they liked Afterlife, which I mean, I guess I could say Afterlife is probably a
I
little
will,
better, but that's also
I will
because it's the
say
first movie.
Afterlife is a stronger movie, but I will say this still is a decent movie.
Right, right. And I one thing I had said before we had to start over again is that at the very least, I think this is better than Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah, I think they played a little less safe than that one did.
So a
Also mixed
Ghostbusters,
things up a bit.
so a Ghostbusters movie that's a direct sequel is better, in my opinion, is better than a different Ghostbusters movie that was a direct sequel.
Heaven
Um,
forbid. As a matter of fact, actually, this one even made more references to two than the original first take did for Afterlife.
yeah, because there was a point where on a TV news report they mentioned the time that they brought the Statue of Liberty to life.
Mm-hmm. As far as I'm aware, almost all of it's canon.
Well, you want to get back to that synopsis that I had to cut you off in the middle of?
Oh, yes, going back to the synopsis. Long story short, Gary Gruberson and the Spanglers are all essentially using the firehouse as an apartment while still answering actual Ghostbuster calls and getting to use the now repaired Ecto 1. Meanwhile, Winston has been pumping funds slowly into doing basically a background research thing for the Ghostbusters. So there's technically another group of Ghostbusters that are just purely researchers, and they include people testing out possessed items, trying to kind of work on maybe helping possessed people, but also they have some like aquariums because this wasn't previously a water aquarium for fish, etc. And they've managed to use the same technology behind the proton packs to essentially case off these aquariums and allow ghosts to just roam in a room all by themselves to just do whatever it is they want to do. Um, Actually, just before we got cut off, I realized that we saw almost all those ghosts get free except for one, the really creepy one in the black room. I don't recall ever showing back up.
Oh yeah, the one that
That was,
it's the one that actually phased through the window when the power went down.
yeah, the one that almost escaped at one point and faced through that window.
I
It's
think
weird that that's the one that never shows back up.
I think that was probably the most generic ghost looking one out of them, though. So I think that's probably why they didn't do anything with it after that.
Maybe. Might also have been one of those things where they had to cut it for time too, I suppose. It
It
probably
did.
wasn't anything important to the plot.
It probably also had the most CG usage out of all of them.
Might also be a thing too, because I'm pretty sure at least some of them had at least a little bit of on-set. Anyhow, they finally get introduced to the researchers because there was an incident where an artifact got dropped off at Ray's bookshop, where he's also now doing like essentially YouTube shows with podcast, and one of the items that got bought up by him all of a sudden after it got tested by a PKA meter just went bananas, caused an earthquake, and caused a temporary sheet of ice to reach its way all the way to the firehouse and even cracked the walls slightly the first time it did it. The evil inside of this, what was it, bronze orb? Does this a couple more times, and every time the foundations, or at least the wall around the um, uh, containment system cracks more and more as it's trying to get at it. What we come to find out later on, I forget what the monster's name is.
Oh boy, that's
Let's double checking really quick.
yeah. Oh man, the freaking actual synopsis is just listed as evil force. It's not even one of the top ones on the IMDb page for this.
Oh, jeez.
It is
Uh,
while we're thinking about it, though, it is worth mentioning that the guy that sold the orb is a character named Nadim, who does end up becoming important later in the movie.
yeah, it turns out that he is a fire master, as they dubbed them. Essentially, he's from an ancient lineage that can actually use fire and use it to actually help not only do normal physical things, but also help aid in protection against the paranormal.
The evil
Eh,
being's name is Garaka.
Garaka. Um, but yeah, so this Garaka thing is trying to essentially raise the army of the dead, which is why it wants the containment system because Zool and a whole bunch of other things are all trapped in there. Though at least the parts that made up Zool, I should say,
You mean
because that
Gozer?
seems to be what they were
You mean
hinting at.
Gozer? You made the
Or Gozer.
classic mistake.
Yeah, I did the classic mistake. Gozer and Zool and all the rest of them are the multiple spirits that make up the entity of Gozer are all supposedly trapped in the entertainment. Are all trapped in the containment system and wants to break them all free. Um, they managed to. There's a couple more incidents that happen, and they are trying to find out more information on the enemy on this enemy ghost, and I already forgot his name.
Garaka.
Garaka. They try to find more information on Garaka, cause more incidences, which causes more very expensive damage in the city, and finally gets Peck to do what he wants to do with the Ghostbusters, which is he's going to finally dismantle them completely and giving a whole bunch of bullshit excuses. And even caused some infighting with the original Ghostbusters, to which they finally decide, no, the fuck with this. We need to help these guys. We need to get this Garaka out of the way and we need to make sure that whatever it's planning that it doesn't get the containment system and cause freaking army of darkness. Um, as they're all meeting up at the firehouse near the end of the movie, Janine shows up and actually suits up. She has some sort of melee-looking weapon that looks far better than the previous one that we've seen. To be honest, even though I'm still kind of like, where did that come from? The other three remaining Ghostbusters also suit up and get packs on. And why am I spacing on her name right now? Phoebe. Phoebe manages to use some bronze from the firehouse pole to actually enhance her pack in case of an emergency if she has to step in on it. But also, while this has all been going on, she's befriended a ghost, which turns out to be Garaka's big attempt to cause a subterfuge and get into the firehouse, which Phoebe falls for the trap, temporarily removes herself from her body to become a spirit for 2 minutes. But that's enough time for Garaka to get her to speak what it needs a human to speak in order to free itself from its imprisonment in the bronze orb. Gets out and starts basically a giant storm on the coast of the city and just swarms its way to the firehouse. They face off against the couple of other ghosts that were freed when Garaka was freed. And they also accidentally have one of them destroyed by Slimer as it eats the pizza that it possessed.
Was,
That,
I still
it's
did
a
not
thing.
expect that to be a way that anything would be resolved. Yeah, there's this ghost that throughout the movie keeps possessing things. Like it can possess any inanimate object, and
Hmm.
it possessed one of the proton packs, and it was caused all this chaos. And then, after somebody smashed the proton pack, it leaped into a pizza to try and get away. And Slimer just who did show up earlier in the movie. We didn't mention that, but he did show up earlier in the movie in the attic.
Yeah, he's been in the attic basically stealing snacks and eating it and causing slime to drip down onto I can't think of his name right now.
But after causing trouble for Trevor by dripping goo into his room for
Trevor, yeah.
a couple times in the movie, he just kind of comes out of nowhere and eats the pizza that possessor, which was literally what they called the ghost, had possessed.
Was it
Crazy.
Possessor? I can't remember for sure, but
Yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah.
the. I
They
was expecting them to somebody to finally get the pizza, but I was not expecting Slimer to be the one that got it.
it
To
is
which
wor-
to which I again feel that Slimer should get an upgrade for that.
it is worth mentioning that this is the first movie we've watched for the podcast where neither of us watched it beforehand.
Oh yeah, this is a first for this podcast. Neither of us have gotten to see this. I literally sat on it because I'm like, we're gonna do the whole Ghostbusters series for the podcast. It'd be interesting to see what we think. Oh, fresh face to it, all of us.
Uh,
Um,
so continue.
but so yeah. Long story short, Garaka does manage to crack open. Indeed, Garaka does manage to crack open the containment system. Um, Phoebe's pack does manage to do the damage it needs to do, but it causes the. But because she's the only one available, and it's kind of a randomized Spitfire because it's a weird enhancement, she can't quite keep it stable. Garaka starts to freeze her, which is when the ghost that she befriended lights the match again that she's been trying to light because she previously killed her family by lighting a match, which causes the Firemaster to finally get a chance to use his powers that he had just learned about.
Yeah,
Uses that to unfreeze everybody, and then they're able to stabilize Phoebe. And the original Ghostbusters are able to go to the basement and reverse the polarity essentially on the containment system and literally pull Garaka right into it.
yeah. Basically, because he broke the system open, they could reverse it so that it sucked him into it. But it was worth mentioning that Firemaster is the Nadim guy from earlier in the movie that sold
The
the
orb.
orb
So
the orb in the first place because apparently it was his family's duty to make sure this didn't happen. But like he had such a poor relationship with his grandma, he
that
never found out
he
about it.
never listened and never really paid attention to it. So he messed up big time.
Yeah, so we had moments throughout the movie where he's trying to learn to master the ability to control fire, where it's this goofy where he's trying to make the flame just like lift off of a lighter to light a candle that's next to it, but not close enough for the lighter itself to light it.
Which leads to goofy moments, but also his first real moment of breakthrough is when he actually helps um, a proton pack actually bend middle of the stream in order to hit a target, or actually to miss a target. Actually, yeah,
Yeah,
because it was the possessor trying to shoot one of the kids.
yeah, just tried to shoot one of the kids who Gary leaped in the way of, but ba- Nadim basically redirected it out of the building. Almost kind of like how in Avatar: The Last Airbender, the way some people can redirect the lightning attack.
Mm. Okie doke. So yeah, he meant so basically just one thing feeding after the other, and at the very end of the movie, Dickless shows up and gets called Dickless by someone in the crowd. When he's trying to initially tell the Ghostbusters that they're basically done for. However, he suddenly realizes the entire city around him is literally not believing a word out of his mouth and is actually there to praise them. And basically, it's shouted down to not do a damn thing. And in fact, as they are sitting there making several announcements as to what has happened, Slimer and the what is it, sushi dragon or whatever from
I think they call it the sewer dragon.
the sewer dragon from the beginning of the movie, both start running down the street, to which they have to quickly gear back up and go and stop them because they're causing a ruckus again. And we end on the Ghostbusters theme and in memory of Ivan, as apparently he had passed away a year after the previous movie.
Yeah, I think that explanation was a little more chaotic than your explanations usually are, but it's also we literally just watched this movie for the first time.
That, and I also had several name hangups.
Yeah, that didn't help, obviously.
And it doesn't help that the IMDb and the Wikipedia don't have a very clear listing of names.
Yeah, because because I can't even find who voiced Garaka. Like I saw who puppeteered it, but not who voiced it. I'm like, well, that's not super helpful. um, but
Yeah, I'm not even getting a listing of that.
But I think before we really go into talking about maybe some of the specific scenes and what we thought of them, I think maybe we should talk about the two main new characters for this. It was nice that the original Ghostbusters got more screen time in this than they
Oh
did in
yeah,
Afterlife.
that's definitely a plus for this one that they actually got some time to actually show up and do something.
But I found Nadim more endearing than I probably should have. Like
Oh,
he's just such a like they just kind of portray him as like a goofball loser that just sells whatever random junk he can get his hands on, which is how he ends up selling the orb that had Garaka trapped in it. And I think you said it was bronze, but I'm pretty sure they actually said it was brass. I know there's similar
oh,
looking metals, but
actually, yeah, you're right. It was brass. It's brass. I keep mixing the two in my head to begin with. So bronze is the slightly deeper orange color, while brass is a more
right.
yellowy orange,
I think
and it's brass that they were using.
bronze is also probably more commonly used for things.
Yeah, I believe you actually have to combine. I think it's brass and tin to make bronze, or something to that effect. I believe some
Uh,
sort of extra chemical reaction to make it.
so what did you think of Nadim?
I think he was a fun character. I think he honestly, outside of the fact that he introduces the item and helps people at one point near the end of the movie, he's always a character that could have been easily cut and not remembered and forgotten. But honestly, he does a nice he's a nice filler. He's not aggressively annoying or anything, and he has at least a few good moments when he finally can bend the fire. He literally accidentally sets something else on fire, and it's just a comical moment of, oh, oops.
My
Better keep working on that.
the moment with him that amused me the most was when they had Venkman
Yeah.
trying to run like tests on him, asking him questions, and then Venkman just randomly throws a pen at his face. He's, "Ah, why did you throw a pen at me? Why would you do that?" And he gets
You just
mad,
see the fire
and whenever
flare
he
up
gets
behind
mad,
him.
yeah, whenever he gets mad, like the Bunsen burner in the background suddenly the flame shoots up out of it. And he's like, Venkman just starts throwing pens at him. He's like, stop throwing pens at me.
Why are you doing that? Why do you keep doing that? And then just kind of looks behind him. He quickly looks around just long, catching it just in time to see the flame go back down. He's just like, wait, that was me? Just a kind
And
of moment.
yeah, and it's also it's a ridiculous scene, and it's a scene that would only exist if he was interacting with Venkman. No one else would just randomly do shit like that to him to get that reaction out
Oh,
of
oh
him.
yeah. Yeah, that's totally a Venkman move.
It was
Because
kind
he used to do those kind of tests on kids when he was in college. So
yeah, where he'd ask to guess what the card is when they get it right, and he doesn't care that they got it right because they're a guy. He zaps them,
yeah,
which I don't think we mentioned in the last movie. They did kind of
it,
roll back around to that in like during the credits.
I think we very briefly mentioned it, but yeah, they brought back the little zap box that he had and had Sigourney Weaver's giving him shocks. That's the only one that was actually there's two people missing from this movie to be a nice complete set of everyone returning back. Sigourney Weaver coming back for a bigger role, and oh gosh, what's his name now? Um, her neighbor slash the lawyer.
Oh, he wasn't in Afterlife either.
He wasn't in Afterlife either,
No,
but
it's because he Rick Moranis
Rick, yeah,
he retired from acting. That's
he's
why. I think he might have. I think he
he's
might have unretired, but like he
yeah. I
temporarily
think he's kind of technically unretired,
he
but he's
he
still like very limited
right.
access at the moment.
He had. I believe he had retired due to family related stuff.
Yeah, I believe the story was that his wife passed and he was raising their like two or three kids.
Right. Right. That
So
was
he's been kind of busy, and at
yeah.
least his previous history in acting has allowed him to live a comfortable life while he's taking care of the kids.
Right. Yeah. So he that's why he wasn't in Afterlife or in this because he wasn't interested in coming back because he had other stuff he was worried about more. Um. So The other new character, aside from Nadim, was the ghost girl, Melody, who Phoebe first encounters when she's bummed out, goes out to like the park and sets up chessboard, and then, like in the previous movie with her grandfather, the chess pieces start moving, and obviously she knows it's a ghost that's doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And then the ghost makes herself visible, and it's a girl named Phoebe, who's, or not, no, Phoebe's the girl. The ghost is Melody. Um, Melody's kind of thrown off by the fact that Phoebe isn't even scared at all. Just acts like this is completely normal for this to happen,
Right.
which is because she already experienced it once before.
Mm-hmm.
And as you mentioned, she's a ghost with a tragic backstory where she was playing with a match and accidentally burnt down her house and killed her family.
Yep. And killed herself in the process. Apparently, something actually in the fire hit her and killed her, which should allow her to die before she took too much fire. So
I don't know if
I
you
believe I
noticed.
believe she joked that she thankfully died before her face melted off.
I don't know if you noticed, but like you'd occasionally see like little flickers of flame on
Oh
her
yeah, she had
body.
like flames going up her shoulders and stuff almost all the time.
Like that was a neat little touch. Like it wasn't like big, but it was enough where if you were paying attention, you'd
Enough if
notice it.
yeah, enough if you're paying attention to things, you'll notice that she's constantly like in a blue slightly smoldering flame going on around her.
And yeah, she, as a main part of the story, she tricked Phoebe into leaving her body to be a spirit temporarily because so that Garaka could do his plan. But obviously Phoebe was too. So that's the funny thing is like they obviously were hinting at them being like romantically interested in each other or something.
Possibly, yes.
Because why? There's not a lot of other reason for you to go out of your way to be able to physically touch a ghost.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually thought we were gonna get like a weird scene with them kissing, but they didn't go there. I think they left it open ended like that, so like that the people that would throw a fit over that aren't gonna get mad that there were
That they went
gay
too far with it
that
too
there were
so
yeah,
quickly and suddenly, yeah.
or that they even had gay characters. I I think that they left it open ended so that the viewer can make their
Assume
own
what they
mind up.
want.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they can. Everybody can have their own head canon about what the fuck was going on there. Of course, yeah, it
It's
was
still a little.
interesting.
I will say that's probably only like one major downfall of this movie is that it seemed really stilted and weird and awkward. Like there's obviously some sort of friendship going on there, but they never really like hammer home what kind of friendship this is supposed to be. And they kind of hint that it might be more than just friendship, but it's moving awfully fast, real quick, like
Yeah. Um.
to be a real relationship in the first place. So it's like it's still a little odd.
There was one other new character that I wouldn't say is like a major character because he only had one scene, but I think we kind of both were talking about while we were watching. We are talking about how kind of weird it was that he showed up in this. Was there was a guy working at a library that was played by Patton Oswalt.
Dr. Herbert Wartsky.
Yeah, I'm.
Wardzicki.
I don't have anything against Oswalt's like acting capabilities.
Yeah, I have nothing against his acting capabilities. I will say I don't know if he's learned to cool his temperament because he's lashed out in the public eye a little too often.
And a lot of times when he does, he's making fun of like with the angry video game nerd, he'll go after nerds and make jokes that involve nerd stereotypes. It's like, dude,
You
You're
are the
yeah,
stereotype.
yeah,
Why are you doing this? You
like
literally are fighting
right,
yourself.
like even if Patton Oswalt is not actually a nerd in real life, his entire acting career is
He has constantly
playing.
claimed that he
Yeah, yeah.
is.
I mean, his whole thing is playing dorks, basically. Everything he's been in, he plays a dork, whether it be King of Queens or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or whatever other fucking thing he randomly shows up in. He always plays a complete dork who geeks out over things constantly. He even does it in this movie.
Yeah. Well, and also again, his actual stand-up before he became a popular actor was that he was a nerd with like action figure collection.
Yeah, so it's a weird thing, like to
So it's really weird to see him lash out like that,
yeah,
and it doesn't quite mesh with his normal visage, if you will.
and the thing is, like, because that whole incident that those aren't aware about is he got pissed when Angry Video Game Nerd said he wasn't going to watch the 2016 Ghostbusters because, from my understanding, his deceased wife worked on the movie,
Was like
so
a producer or something for it.
so
Yeah.
he had like a personal stake in it. But it's like, okay, but the thing is, James didn't say anything bad about the movie. He just said he wasn't going to watch it.
He just said he wasn't interested and that the trailer didn't convince him. And I don't blame anyone.
And so the thing is, I feel he probably got back because you said that apparently his appearance in this was supposed to be longer, but it got cut back because
I've heard at least rumor that it was supposed to be a much longer role that would have lasted at least close to the end of the movie. But yeah, it got completely like upheavaled and like a majority of it got removed.
yeah, it got scaled back. And I'm sure the thing is, there was probably backlash from both sides of this because the people that didn't like 2016 Ghostbusters or that were just mad that he was a fucking asshole to James Rolfe and other people online are probably pissed that he's in the movie. And I imagine the insane feminist types that really were championing the 2016 Ghostbusters were probably viewing him being in this as a betrayal.
Yeah,
So they're probably getting
that
complaints
too.
from both sides.
Yeah, so being in this one really did him no favors outside of that he got a role in a Ghostbusters movie for at least a little
Yeah.
while.
And it's kind of weird that he wasn't in the one that he actually cared so much about. I mean, he, not that I think anyone could have saved that fucking
Movie at all,
movie,
yeah.
but like he probably could have had some funnier moments than some of the people that actually were in the movie.
Right?
Like
Like some of
do
the other side characters actually got.
do away with the whole himbo thing for Chris Hemsworth and have Patton Oswalt be the secretary and have him just be a serious character for once. That probably would have worked better.
It would have actually, yeah, actually a serious, intelligent character playing off these idiots would have actually been somewhat funny.
But back to this movie.
Yeah. Anyhow,
He was
I'll
really
try to save that one.
he was basically just here for plot exposition.
Yeah, he was basically here for plot exposition and to get attacked by a ghost before the kids were able to activate a proton pack on the bike.
Right.
And because they had to destroy a statue in order to stop the ghost attacking them, they get blamed for everything and again tries to dismantle the Ghostbusters. But yeah. Trying to think. Yeah, that was
Those three were pretty much the major.
the main new ones, yeah.
'Cause, I mean, you can't look. You could consider Garaka a character, but considering his whole thing is just evil, going to destroy everything, there's not a whole lot you can say about that.
Not too much to say about that. I mean, the voice effects were good. The visual effects were really good with it, too. This you don't get a whole lot of really tall, menacing figures in Ghostbusters, and he fits the bill pretty well.
Garaka was basically a JRPG final boss put into a Ghostbusters movie.
More or less. Yeah, he's the big bad demon evil lord thing at the end of every generic fantasy RPG that you have to face down and defeat.
I
Just
was
that he's ice themed.
he is imposing figure, but I will say like my biggest issue with him in particular is that he really is just kind of like a generic looking demon. Like that works for what this is, but like he just didn't have the most memorable appearance in my opinion. That's probably
I'd
like
say he could be more generic, but at the same time, I do understand where you're coming from. That he's basically demonic looking ghost thing.
yeah. He's probably one of the, in my opinion, least interesting ghost designs that they've had in the series. But it's also he works for what he is, so it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
There any scenes in particular you want to talk about?
Um. Outside of Slimer, not really. Slimer had a nice couple cameos. He got to attack Trevor, aka Finn Wolfhard, a couple times. I believe, yeah, matter of fact, yeah, I believe every time that Trevor tried to do something with Slimer or to capture him or find out what's going on, he ends up getting slimed every time.
Yeah, the only downside is he never actually said the words. He
No, he
slimed
never
me,
said the phrase. Yeah,
which ironically I know it was actually a line in the original Ghostbusters, but the biggest reason it's stuck in my head is the fucking video game. Anytime you got clobbered by
oh,
a ghost, you just hear the staticky attempt to do a voice in like an
you
NES or
slimed
yeah
me.
or Commodore 64 game or her swarm. Okay, so it's just stuck in my brain because of that.
It is one of the funny moments in the first movie, to be fair, but also, yeah.
I also gotta admit that like um is is podcast actor, yeah, he is the same
Yeah,
actor.
yeah, he's the actor. He aged like
Yeah,
rapid fire in three
like
years.
fucking hell. I saw
That boy sprouted.
I saw him and I did not realize that was the same actor. I was like, because I actually,
I could
you
tell from
remember,
certain angles, but it's like, wow, yeah.
you remember, I actually said, wait, is that podcast? Because, yeah, Logan
Hmm.
Kim, his actor, it's like he got a growth spurt out of nowhere.
Yeah, that like I said, that boy just grew rapid fire and real fast.
Like Phoebe's actress,
Looks almost the same.
like you can tell she's taller. That's the
You can tell
main
her
noticeable.
taller. Yeah.
But other than that, and I know it's partially because of the way they did her hair and everything. Because if you look at her IMDb, it seems that she's a
She's like
natural
blonde. Yeah.
blonde and normally has like straight
Hmm.
hair. So that like the funny thing is like her IMDb photo looks nothing like the way she looks in these movies.
Right.
Um, but yeah, she still looked relatively. She pretty much her and the guy playing her brother pretty much look the same as they did in the previous movie. Just a little. They're both taller. That's the noticeable difference. I think the other person that changed the most, was mostly because of what they did with her hair, was Lucky. Because when I first saw her,
Oh yeah.
I was like, wait, that's this. Because I don't think she had her hair braided like that before.
No, she did not have her hair braided, and she didn't have it colored either.
Yeah, so that actually kind of threw me off, but still, it was easier to recognize her than podcast. Um, yeah, this is a very, it's hard to say, I can't say anything bad about this movie, honestly. Like,
Yeah, I can't
yeah,
honestly say anything too bad. Like I said, the only weird thing about it is the weird thing between Melody and Phoebe.
yeah,
Because again, they don't really want to say anything in particular, but at the same time, they seem to be making some sort of big point about it. And it's like, well, what are we trying to hit at here?
yeah. Pretty much any negatives I have about this movie are really all nitpicks.
Yeah, if anything, that's a nitpick, and it's just a thing that feeds into the main plot eventually
Like,
and becomes important
yeah.
when the big bad gets freed.
Um,
But other than that, yeah, there's not anything major things that I think are really wrong with it. It's got some decent humor. It actually has a little more action than the previous movie had, so it actually gets right to the point.
yeah. Oh, because they don't have to.
It has the majority of the original actors back, and it has the entire set of the new actors in. So I can't really complain too hard. They did a good job of keeping it going.
Yeah, well, obviously there's more action because they don't have to reestablish the Ghostbusters. They already did that in the
Exactly.
previous movie.
If anything, they just have to establish where these new ghosts are coming from a little bit.
Right. It's in my opinion, it's like I said. I said this. I think I said this earlier. It's the logical continuation of the previous movie, where it's it, I don't want to say it's more of the same because it's basically more of the same of what you got in the last half of the first movie,
Yeah,
basically.
it's a good continuation of what happened in the last half of the first movie
Yep. And
of the returning
and
movie.
it has a lot of nice little fan service tidbits that are sprinkled throughout the movie that are references to
Hmm.
stuff from the previous movies. Like I can't remember most of them off the top of my head, aside from them bringing up the walking Statue of Liberty.
The Statue of Liberty walking. Yep. I think there's a couple of things like different things that they're testing in that lab that are throwbacks to other things. The big containment system at the new testing facility. That's technically the same containment system from the cartoon. That's originally Egon's plans.
You know what's funny about that bigger containment system is,
Mm.
at least from what it seems like, after Garaka got freed, like that containment system was right there, and he didn't do anything with it. He just went straight to the other one.
Which is why I believe that Gozer was probably in the other one in the firehouse. That and what was it now? Technically 40 plus years of stored up entities.
I wonder if they had actually decided to have Gozer show up in this, which they didn't. Like you'd think that she would have gotten out, but I wonder what would have happened if those two ghosts ran into each other. Like, would they have been able to agree to work together, or would they got pissed off and fought because they both thought they deserved to be in charge?
Actually, I could definitely see them probably fighting each other because both of them want something different for the world. And they also want to be top dog.
Yeah,
Egos like that always clash.
yeah. I think it'd be interesting to see, like, you know, the death battle show.
Mm, yeah.
Imagine like you have a death battle, but have it be like three ways, like Gozer, Garaka, and what was it? Vigo, was that the guy in the second?
Ego.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How a three-way battle between them? What would happen?
If Vigo was as smart as he believes himself to be, he'd let the other two duke it out until one of them was winded but the successor, and then he would do some sort of backstabby shit and get them.
Uh,
Because if anything, Gozer's a smart and very emotional filled entity that knows what he's doing. And I
so
might just have a little bias. You never know.
so I think, was Gozer a he?
Gozer was an it.
Okay.
And technically, I think Garaka here might have been an it too, because it's technically not a entity that ever lived as a mortal. It was some
Yeah,
sort of demonic entity.
yeah. Garaka's not human.
The only he would have been Vigo.
I think Garaka's pronouns are ice.
Might be something along those lines.
I think that's all we can really say about this, though.
Yeah, that's
So
about it. I honestly don't think it's that bad of a movie for those who naysay it. Sorry, I thought it was pretty decent.
yeah, I give it a thumbs up.
Yeah, yeah. So if any of you all are interested, there's a 4 movie now series of Ghostbusters you can check out, and they're all pretty good. I'll just skip 2016. It's not connected to anything, and honestly, it's pretty darn mediocre.
So before we finish, for future forecasts, I'm going to point out that the
Mm,
next few podcasts, we're going to do some individual movies that are not part of a series, and then after that, we're
yes.
going to do RoboCop,
Yeah, I believe that was the
which,
one you wanted to
yeah,
do.
which is also a series that had a bad attempted reboot. And the funny thing is, I remember when we were talking about it, like we were talking about, oh man, RoboCop 3's so bad, and then we were sitting here going, wait a minute, oh shit, there's a fucking reboot. No,
No, I'm like, yeah, RoboCop 3 is pretty bad. Then there's the reboot.
like I mean, if it is, I haven't watched it, but if it is better than RoboCop 3, that's not like that great of an accomplishment. But
I'm actually trying to mentally weigh them right now. I might have to review both of them just to get a refresher on how bad they both were.
but we also have the
Oh,
four film movie anthology that we're going to do for that.
yes,
Prime Directives.
the miniseries Triumph Directives. Yes.
So until next time, everybody, have a good one.
See y'all next time.